Welcome to DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, so let's get started. All right, welcome to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel, and today we have special guest Ray Nichols. Ray, how are you?
Good, Chris. D Drizzle, how are you? That actually would be a good either a rapping name or a good wrestling name.
I don't want to say what it sounds like to me, but it just doesn't sound like a good nickname.
It could also sound like a snack too.
Yeah, it's a snack or
A
something
man, a snack.
Exactly. How are you?
Doing excellent. How are you?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you getting on. And I was telling you through the pre-show, I call it a pre-show, like 5 minutes. But I've had a couple of people on the podcast that have mentioned your name, like during the pre-show or after. And of course, I've known you for years within the DFW running community overall, but I've never really had a sit-down conversation with you. And I feel like the influence you've had within the DFW from a running standpoint, it's been good. I think you've had a few people mention your name, and I'm like, I got to get this guy on. I got to get to know him a little bit more. So here we are.
Excellent. Do you remember when we first met? This is an awkward encounter. I don't know if you remember.
I don't know. Like, you tell me. Maybe.
So it was at the airport. It was April 2019. We're all getting loaded up to get on the plane to go to Boston, and I was.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was on the floor rolling and stretching because I was working through some injuries. And Logan Sherman, he gave me some things to work, and then everybody was looking at me like I was insane because I had one of those lacrosse balls and I was just rolling my hamstrings and my calves. And then you and Leah sit down, and of course this is normal for you guys, and then we just started talking, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, I think you've known Laura for a while, I think. Laura Osentoski. Now
Yep.
Laura Nichols. But
I knew who she was.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the first time we met, like getting on the same plane going to Boston.
I do remember that, and I do remember talking to her, and I was like, who's this guy? Like, I don't. But yeah, and I think there was another time we met, like I feel like we were in a bus or something. Maybe it was the plane. I don't know, but
yeah.
But yeah, I think that it's crazy where you meet people. You're going to Boston then as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was my first, yeah.
Okay. How many Bostons have you done?
2 so far.
Okay. Do you plan on going back or?
19. Yeah, I think I'm going to be one of those like every 3 to 5 years, just because I don't want it to lose its magic, because Boston, it's the cream of the crop. I always tell people it's the Super Bowl of running.
I agree.
I want to keep it fresh. I think Leah's 12.
She just did 12, yeah.
Amazing.
12 in a row, as a matter of fact, and she actually qualified for 13, so I'm sure she's going to
go. Yeah. Is this your first podcast back post Boston?
Yeah, it is.
That's awesome.
Got left for like 5 more scheduled already, but I really get to enjoy Boston this year. Now, as a spectator, obviously, I've done the 5K several times and love it. I did it this time. But I think that it is truly the best of the best if you get in through qualification. Like, there's no better race out of the 7 majors now that is the best of the best. I'm not saying you don't have the best there, but this is the best of the best in the age groups. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And even the best come for the most part. The atmosphere to me, is amazing. Like this time, my wife got the something unicorn club thing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And so you get to have a nice little, she let a guest come, or we bought the guest pass. It's not free, but you still get to do it. And I get to be on one, they had this breakfast that was, I call it free because we paid for it, but we can go right there to the starting line, basically, at this hotel. It's the Marriott something Westin. And in the morning, you get to see all the runners come up, all the unicorn folks. I think it's 10 years or more if you've done the Boston Marathon. So you have breakfast, even for the guests. So you get all the runners there that are part of that. And then they can walk over to the bus that's right there outside of the hotel that takes them to the beginning. And then they end right there at the finish, and the hotel's right there. But for me, I get to go to we'll get to you in a minute. But to me...
No worries. No, this is good. I didn't know they had this. This is good to know.
Yeah, it's good. It's pretty cool. And so I get to go into the stands and cheer on. So I got a video of Leah and get to see all the runners. Now I do it at 1 o'clock, so they didn't do it like right before the really fast people, or if you're running like a 3 hours or below, you're not going to see some of those people. But for the most part, I get to tell my wife, she's 3:35, and it was cool because I got to see her barely, because it's hard to tell so many people running, but you could see them. Took a video, pictures, things like that, and just the atmosphere was amazing. Then we went back to that hotel, the Westin, and she got watch and things like that. And so it's a lot of fun. So to me, that was a little different for me. Never did it. I've been a lot, but I've not done anything like that.
That's incredible, yeah.
Yeah. So the atmosphere's great. So I just wanted to agree with that before we go into your journey.
Yeah. What I was gonna say, like people often ask me like, "What's your favorite part of Boston?" And people are like, "Oh, it's gonna be Wesley." No, like my favorite part is before the race. Like it's so electric. Like when they call the elites, they're like, "All right, elites, go line up." And then literally 2 minutes after, "All right, Group A, blah blah, go up," and you're like, "Holy shit, that's me." And then you go down, and it's about I want to say a half a mile walk to the starting line. So you're walking through these neighborhoods and people are already outside cheering for you. Like you're not even close to the starting line and people are like, "Yay," like cheering you on, telling you to you use the bathroom, blah blah. And you're walking next to these amazing women and amazing men to the starting line and you're like, this is amazing. I get to be here with the best of the world. And it's no greater that to me, like that feeling just yeah, it's incredible. That's my favorite part of Boston.
Leah mentioned something similar to that the other day. She said, if you could ever go to the starting line and just see the magic just before the race starts, the things that they're doing, saying, music, all this stuff that's happening. Of course, I've never run Boston, but she talks about it kind of like you did. And it's certainly magic. One of the things, so as I mentioned before, there's been a few people talk about you in the running community, and I knew you were in the running community. I knew you ran, you're really fast. I didn't know how much you were actually involved and engaged in the running community, meaning just like you've run groups and had groups and things like that. And I want to talk more about that. But first, let's talk a little bit about when you started running and why. What's going on there? Because sometimes I think you guys doing all these marathons, I'm like, man, you have done a marathon of many, and I'm like, it's just insane.
My running journey is a little bit fragmented. There's about 3 chapters. So one of my buddies in middle school is like, hey, they want me to try out for the cross country team and track team. Just join me. I don't want to go by myself. And I was like, all right, I'll go. Why not? Let's give it
In
a
high
shot.
school,
It was 8th grade going into our
yeah.
freshman year. So we went to the camp, ran a few times, and I was like, I don't know if this is for me. And my buddies, we have to do this. This is good, blah, blah. So I let him talk me into it. So yeah, like at that time, my passion was basketball. Like Danny Rojas from Ted, like basketball was life. Basketball, like I carried my basketball everywhere I went. There wasn't a time I didn't have a basketball in my hand. So I
But
joined
if
the
you
cross
only
country.
knew in eighth grade or ninth grade that this will help you a lot in basketball, getting in shape and not being so tired from all the sprinting you're going to be doing.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So we went out and I got on the JV team and my friend got on the varsity. He was just a different beast, just different animal. So I stuck to it, like you said, to get in shape for basketball because I made the JV team in high school as a freshman. So I was like, I'll use cross country to stay in shape. And then eventually I got on varsity my freshman year. I think my
For
first
basketball
five
or for
no, for
cross country?
cross country.
Wow.
Sorry. So I think my first 5K was like 24 minutes, and then I got down to like mid 17s my
Yeah.
freshman year. And then I was like, okay, I'll give this a try. And then, so just from there, just elevated it. And then I remember my sophomore year, we almost made it to state. And at this time, I was doing multiple sports at the time. And we just missed state by one spot, and we were devastated. And our coach just pulls us aside, and he's you guys weren't hungry. You guys didn't want it enough. And we're like, what the heck? And we had another school that like just beat us. Like they just beat us every single time. And I want you to take a look at that team. It was Santa Ana because I grew up in Southern California, Orange proper in Orange County. And then he's look at that team. They train year round. Like they wanted it more than you guys, and that just stuck with me. We're like, okay, like you're right. Like we have to put more effort in this if we want to make state and do all this stuff. So that sophomore year, I went to my basketball coach and I was like, okay, I'm gonna drop out of basketball and I'm just gonna focus on cross country and track. That's
A
it.
new
Like
passion.
I want this real bad. So we train our asses off. And California is a little bit different rules than here in Texas. Like you can't train with a coach for X amount of time and then in the summer, like we couldn't even meet with our coach until July. So we were just every single day we were just meeting up every morning during the summer and just training. That sophomore year sophomore and senior year, we made states. I was able to knock out some huge PRs, some huge times.
What were
It
they?
was incredible. So for my 5K, I ran a 15:32.
Dang, dude.
So yeah, it
But
was
let me just tell you something. In college, you couldn't win unless you were like running a 14:20 or
no
something
way, no way.
or faster.
You would just get, yeah, that time you would just get cooked.
Yeah. 15:30 is nothing or whatever. But that's super fast, dude.
Yeah.
Just so everybody
And
knows.
and just imagine like we're almost the same age. I think I'm maybe
You and
like
I.
5 years younger than you.
Yeah,
The shoe technology in the 90s and early 2000s was you're just running in waffle shoes.
that's right.
So I was like, what if we had like super shoes back then? What would happen? But of course, those people that were faster than you would have more incredible times. But that's why records are being broken. But yeah, so yeah, that was my PR, 15:32 in the 5K, and then I ran
Did
the
you win state
mile.
or you just went to state?
We got third in state.
Okay,
We ended
that's
up
pretty
getting
good.
third in state.
Now,
So
all
yeah.
your friends, were they running the same speed you are or close?
So our number one guy, I was our number two guy. Our number one guy was 14:50.
Okay,
The
wow.
dude was incredible. He went to nationals. He at the time I think it was like the Foot Locker Championship before Nike took over. So he went to all of that. The dude was just incredible. I wasn't at that level, but I was
So close.
enough to make state. So I was just happy with that.
So if you look back now, just from everything that you know, it sounds like you worked hard. Do you think that if you, because you're a lot smarter today as a runner, if you knew what you knew now then, do you think you could even been faster? Or is it like,
I,
no, man?
I think so because with all the and I go to my son's track meets now and I see all the things that they're doing in regards to warm up and all the bands that they have and different tools you have for warm ups and injury preventions. Like back then we didn't have resistant bands to warm up it's just you just ran
Jogged
a
a little bit
mile or
to warm
two,
up.
you jogged a little warm up and that
Yeah.
was it, you know what I mean? Our
Do a little
coach
stretching maybe.
yeah, my coach was a Olympic marathoner. So he was very of the mindset like just jog. He wouldn't let us static stretch until after like he would make us warm up and do a little bit of static stretching just to
Okay.
loosen up and do some strides and things like that.
Crazy
But
to remember all this.
yeah, and then but nothing like our kids do today. Like I just see some of the things like my son will warm up for an hour before he even starts his track workouts, and I'm like, oh man, like I'm not about that life.
Does it work out?
Yeah, so he does the hurdles. He does the 110
Okay.
hurdles and 300s, and he's significantly taller than me. He's like 5'11", and I'm 5'6", so I don't know where those genetics came from. But yeah, so he'll warm up for an hour before he even starts doing
How old
his
is he?
workouts. He's 16.
Okay. I've got a
So
14-year
yeah,
old.
a 14-year-old. Yeah, so about the same age.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. It's so he doesn't do the mile or cross country or anything.
he was built for speed, not distance.
Not yet, but speed goes away and distance starts to come later, and you have speed and distance. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
It's always fun to watch the kids do that. All right, so you do well in high school. What was next? You said there's a three-phased approach here.
Yeah, so then that was it, and then track, and then I focused on track once that was done. I was able to run like a 4:18 mile my senior year, and then I could never really get a. I think my best 2 miler was like a 9:59. I that was just
About 5 minutes, a little under
yeah,
five,
because
slightly.
you would do the mile first, and then the last event was
Yeah,
the
it
two
just
miler,
sucks.
and then I was already cooked by that time. But
Still pretty good.
yeah, like
You know,
I never. I'm sorry.
not good.
I said like I never thought that I would ever be able to run that fast in the mile because before that it was like a four something, and then we ended up breaking a California school record for the 4x1 mile relay.
Ooh, that's awesome. You ran
It was
that too?
yeah. So
That'd be
that to
fun.
me that's probably
You're
like
kind
my
of a
favorite.
sprinter. I see a quarter of a
Yeah,
sprint-ish. Well, it's
yeah.
not 100 or 200, but
Yeah, that's probably like my favorite race memory of just because we were doing so bad the first half of that relay, and then we just came back and just dominated the field. It was incredible.
yeah. That's pretty awesome, man. I always loved the 400 or the mile, the 4 by 1 mile or whatever. It was just so fun to watch. These people just sprint the quarter and then
Going
hand off the
crazy,
batons.
yeah.
So you didn't go to college or from a running standpoint.
So I ran 2 years and then I got burnt out. I was
Oh,
just
okay.
at that point I was just burnt out, and then that's where chapter one ends. I ran 2 years collegiately, and then I was like I just can't anymore. I was just burnt out. And then after that, I finished school, but I did everything else but run. Like I was in a basketball league and a flag
Still active.
football league, softball league. I did everything. Started weightlifting.
It's like in your 20s.
Yeah, I would say from 20 to maybe 35. Like I did everything but. So I had a friend that his dad was a Olympic lifter, so I did that for a while and then did the other sports and then
I think that's awesome. I think that when you kind of look at then when you started to get into marathon training, or eventually you'll get there, but it's probably a good kind of because a lot of runners just do running, and I'm not sure if you kind of mix it up. We'll talk about that later, but my assumption is you at least had that idea of lifting weights is key, and hopefully you still have that because as we get older, it just
yeah.
maybe you just quit
Yeah,
doing that and then just ran. I don't know.
yeah, to a certain degree. Yeah, to a certain degree. So I knew a lot of the basics because my friend taught me. Because, like I said, his dad was an Olympic body lifter, and I learned a lot from him. And then I got away from that. And then from California, I moved here to Texas back in I want to say '07. And I worked with this guy that I'm still close with. He played football in college, never went professional. He was power lifter, Olympic kind of training type guy. He's, hey, just come lift with me, blah, blah. At the time, I was like maybe like a buck 35. I was small, right? And then we just trained forever. Monday through Friday, we trained hard every day for an hour.
You're 135 pounds?
Yeah, at the time, yeah.
Okay.
And then it was like 140. Let's just say 140. And then I got up to 175.
For
Like
lifting all the
for
muscle?
lifting. I was 175 pounds, and I looked like a gorilla. Like to a certain point, like I was just walking on my knuckles. I was just ginormous. I'm short, and then now I'm like gigantic. I'm just like crawling on my knuckles and grunting
What's
at
going on,
everything.
y'all?
Food. But then I, then I was like, there's no point to this. Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna do? I had to get new. I went from wearing kids large to wearing men's medium. I had to get like a whole new wardrobe, and I'm like, I can't do anything with this. Then at that point, right when I decided to, okay, I'm gonna stop lifting. I'm gonna do something else. And this guy found out that I ran in high school and college. And he comes up to me and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna do the Wounded Warrior half." He was a medic in the army. And I heard you used to run. Will you train me for a half
Will you
marathon?
train me?
Yeah, pretty much.
You
And I
never
told
even
him,
ran a half marathon before.
yeah, I'd only ran one. I only ran one,
Okay.
and I told him that. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, we could train. I've only ran one. I haven't ran one in 15 years. I was like, so we started training and then started entering these races. And then I started podium, like second place, third place, winning a couple
In the
local
half?
ones, in like 5 to 10Ks. And I was
Yeah,
like,
because you're fast, dude.
sweet.
You have a lot of
Oh,
ability anyways. Like that's just, yeah, makes sense. Because you're what, 35, 40 by then?
yeah, roughly, yeah. So I was like, maybe there's still something in the tank. Who knows?
Of course.
Let's give this a go. So we ran that half marathon. It was in July in Texas, so it was miserable. And I'm like, screw this. I'm never doing this again.
That's exactly what
So
I'd say.
yeah. So I casually started
3 months later,
training. Yeah, 3 months later. Yeah. So when I turned 30, I was like, I want to do things that I've never done before. Like I went skydiving and I'm like, okay, let me train for a marathon. Let me train for the Dallas Marathon. I don't know what I'm doing, but I did a little bit of research. This was 10 years ago. I did a little bit of research and you're like, okay, you just do a couple long runs and go. I did 2 months of training, two
a lot of
months of
people do that.
training. And I think I did my highest. I think I did two 18-milers, and I was like, okay, let's go. So I was like, I just wanted to complete it. That was just the goal. I just wanted to start and finish. So that was like 2014. The Dallas Marathon was my first.
What'd
Finished
you get?
in
Yeah,
3:42.
that's
Too.
pretty good.
My goal, I was telling people, my goal is to have a faster time than Oprah. Because I think at that point she ran like a 350
She
something. So I was
did?
like, yeah, like a four.
Wow.
It was when she lost all that weight,
Yeah,
and then
still.
she started
I didn't know she
training.
was
Yeah,
that fast.
yeah, I think she ran like a four or just under four, something around that time. And I was like, I have to beat Oprah. That was my goal. And then yeah, a 3:42, and then just casually running. And then I was just running by myself. And then and DFW is big but small, so we
Yeah,
all run in the same circles, right?
yeah.
So I had some friend groups that was friends with Julie Leno. And she's like, hey, I'm looking for people to come out, come run. And I was like, I'll come up. And then I did a run with WRRC, the White Rock Co-op.
That's where everybody
That was,
starts, it
yeah,
seems.
that's where everybody starts. Yeah. So I started working with them, and I was on and off with running. And then I started hanging out with Javier Tria. And then we hit it off. And then I started training with him. And then that's when I met Laura. And then we figured, oh, we were all running the same circle of friends. We just never met each other. And then Laura was really the one that like pushed me to do all this. You could Boston qualify at the time. I didn't even think. I just wanted to run just in a group setting because I really thrive off of group settings. And then she's like, no, you
Yeah,
could
same.
Boston qualify. You could do all this. You could do all that. And I'm like, I don't know. I ran one marathon and I hated it. And right, and then Javier signed up for Whistle Stop, and then they had talked me into it.
Wasn't that hard from there?
Yeah, and then that was my second one, and then from that one I qualified for Chicago. And when I qualified for Chicago, that's when Melanie Lawson came. She moved to Texas, and then like her, Javier, and I started training for that one, and then
She's the one that mentioned you as well. Yeah,
oh
she
yeah,
said it.
yeah,
Yeah,
oh yeah. It was like I think she was like here a week and then joined WRC, and
yeah.
then we found
I
out we
think
had a lot in common. We're like, yeah, we're both training for Chicago. Let's go.
it's
And
awesome.
then
So,
yeah,
well, you ran this other one before Chicago, right?
so
Second one?
yeah, so it was whistle stop, and then I ran 3:10, I think. So it significantly improved my time. I
Jeez,
knew what I
dude.
was doing at that time
Yeah.
because I was working with Javier and Julie. Julie had already BQ'd. She like to us like she was our leader. We're gonna follow whatever she does, and we're gonna make this happen. She took the lead, took us under her wing per se. Yeah, ran a 3:10 there, qualified for Chicago, and then ran Mesa before Chicago, and that was my first BQ where I ran like a 3:04.
So back then was 3:05 for you?
It was 3:10.
Okay. You had to get
Yeah,
under 3:10 though, and you didn't do
yeah.
that yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
not yet. And I made it by when they bring out the qualification time, I made it by 7 seconds. I barely made it that year, but I
I've
was
heard
like,
the
yeah,
opposite too. People miss it by 2 seconds or something, and I'm like,
it,
geez. Wow.
yeah,
Okay. So 3:04 now, and you're running with Javier and Julie and all of them. And so did you go with
huge,
the group?
huge in the co-op. Yeah,
Yeah.
had
So you're
a
big in there.
solid. Yeah. So,
Were you living in Dallas at the time?
no, I was living in Plano. I'm still
Okay.
kind of in Carrollton, far north Carrollton, Plano area. And then we started running with the fast guys of WRC, like to the point where I was getting dropped every week, just every week getting dropped. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Who's the fast people then?
Brent Woodle, Randy Burnett, a few other guys, Rick Simons, like those guys were just blazing fast. And
Okay.
for weeks, I was just getting dropped. And then I was like, okay. And then I was like, I'm not going to stop. I want to get to the point where they're at. So eventually just started hanging on and then going through the workouts and doing all that.
Wow, that's pretty cool. So you did that, and that's, what's your bet? What was Chicago like?
Chicago was great. I was running with an injury, a foot injury. I sliced my foot open really bad, and I had to stop. It was like a freak slip and slide accident. So
That
I had to
sucks.
stop for, yeah. I didn't run for a month prior to the race, and I ran the race, and I did great. I ran, I think, a 3:12.
That is good,
So
considering you
yeah,
had a bad foot and
Chicago is amazing. I think out of all the ones I ran, I think Chicago is my favorite major by far. I just think everything about Chicago, the atmosphere, running through Chinatown. Have you done Chicago?
Leah has a few times.
Yeah,
That means I
it's
go. I've only run 3 marathons and I quit. I was like, screw
you're like I'm
this.
done.
Yeah.
No, if you get back into it, I highly recommend Chicago. I love it's an early start. All the other majors start at 10:30, so late, and then Chicago starts at 7:30. It's easy. It's easy to get to the starting line. It's an easy finish. The crowd support's amazing. Chicago, I enjoyed Chicago a lot. It's really flat. It does have a lot of turns, kind of pinhead turns, but I think that's my favorite major that I've
Have you done it more than
participated.
once?
Just once. I would
Okay.
love to go back, but that means summer training.
Yeah. They're so expensive, man. It's like you have to spend a lot of money on these world major marathons.
Hmm.
They're not cheap either. But that's why you do it, because they're so special.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
And
So,
I like the traveling of it too.
no, I do too. I love going out there. It's a little different. It's partly why we do it is it's a little different than what we're used to, and it's good to get away from the same atmosphere day in and day out. People are like, "Oh, did you do Dallas Marathon?" Yes, I do it every year, or the half or something. They're great and they're growing, and it's really cool to see Cowtown. Something I didn't know. Cowtown is actually bigger than Dallas.
Yeah, they get a lot of support. They get a lot of support.
The city supports them in big way, and I think that's helpful. And I think the city of Dallas is just a little bit more stingy with things, especially when it comes to running and sports, it seems.
Yeah, I would say, but I will say this about the Dallas Marathon. It has the best pre-race to any race I've ever done.
Really?
I think Berlin might be a close second. Just the pre-start before the actual race is just phenomenal. It's the best I've ever seen.
What do you
You know
mean
what I mean?
pre-race? What do you mean?
Like when you're in the chute, when you're waiting to start, just you have Hawkeye from 96.3 hyping up the crowd, and then you have Logan Sherman hyping up the crowd, and then you have the big screen and the music's going,
Dirk
and
or
it's just
somebody in there, saying
yeah,
some
yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
And then they're
got
just
it.
hyping you up. All like that atmosphere, that pre-race, like it's the best I've ever seen out of any race.
That's a good point. You'd hope they would have had Luca on there. I guess
Yeah.
that ship
Yeah.
sailed.
Oh yeah. Gonna start a Fire Nico petition.
Yeah, I'll say this about that just because it still stings. And it's obvious that it still stings,
Doesn't make any
others.
sense. Doesn't make
Zero
any sense.
sense, dude. You didn't get anything for it. And why?
No,
Anyways,
no future draft picks, no
that
money. Like
get
he just
this.
wasted it all.
Yeah, it's like, dude, what are you thinking? You just want to give the Lakers a star or something? I don't really get that.
Yeah. LeBron gets his sixth ring, but yeah, we digress.
Digress. All right, so well, let's fast forward then, because you did a lot of marathons. And what was your best marathon, and where was it?
Houston, actually.
Great
Houston,
marathon.
22, a 2:48.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so how much did you PR by from that? What was
16 minutes. So
dude, you're
16-minute
like
PR.
kind of a PR master now. Like you went from 340 something to 310 or whatever.
That training block was probably the best training block. We were training, like I was training with some of the best athletes in DFW. Maddie, Melanie, Jennifer Pope, Brent Woodle would jump in, Eric Brettel, Taylor Murphy, myself, and I think we were training at least 4 days a week together. We were doing all our track workouts, tempos, long runs, like we were locked in. Like all of us were locked in. Like that whole cycle, it never felt like a chore. Sometimes when you go out and training, you get that feeling you're like, I got to do 10 miles, and not once did that training cycle ever feel like a chore. And you surround yourself with some of the best athletes, and you're going to learn from them. They're going to learn from you. You just feed off each other, and it was a constant brainstorming. What if we do this? What if we do that? And everything just, all the pieces just fell together in that training. There wasn't any injuries. I was just diligent about stretching and rolling every single day, eating well. Like I said, like we were all locked in, and there was no way I wasn't gonna. My A goal actually was just to break three. I wanted a 2:59:59. That was it. I just wanted to break three, and then it
So
just
we're talking
turned
about
out
the 248 that you hit. So
2:48.
that's the best training cycle.
Yeah.
I'm curious, like your goal was to beat 3, but what made you go faster? You were going faster than you should have to hit under 3. So what?
It was about mile 17 where I was like, I feel really good. I got that runner's high, and I was like, I don't feel exhausted at all. I don't feel like I'm going to hit the wall. Let me just push it a little bit.
Okay.
So I started pushing a little bit, and then just pushing. And I think I started at a 6:30 pace, and then by my last mile was, I think it was like a 5:48 that I finished.
Jeez.
Like I just felt so
I'm gonna
good,
have to
and
go
it
look
just
at those splits. I'm sure they're on Strava
yeah,
somewhere.
they're on Strava, and it just everything worked out. The weather was great. I actually got in the wrong corral at one point because it was my first time running Houston, and I saw the sign that said A and B corral, enter here. So I go in and I go to the start, and then one of my friends sees me, and Valerie's, what the hell are you doing here? And I'm like, the same thing you're doing, gonna race. She's, no, you idiot, you're in the other corral. And I'm like, oh my god. And I have 5 minutes to get out of that chute, because if you've ever have you ever done Houston? It's three, like that chute, 3 blocks.
Yeah.
So I had to get out of that block, go to the right corral, and then I had to get my way. And I couldn't push forward all that much. I think I was standing next to the 3:10 pace group, and I was
Yeah.
like, this is fine. This
You'll be
will,
fine now.
yeah.
They have a
this
3-hour
will keep
pace
me
group
off.
or something?
Yeah, they had a 3-hour pace group.
Okay.
Which
Did you ever
was,
get to them?
this is the funniest story, so I think I was like 2 or 3 miles in, and then I get passed by the 3:05 pace group. And I'm like,
That happened.
what's going on? I was like, and it psyched me out, because like I know what it takes to run a 3:05, because I've already done it. And I'm like looking at my watch, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, what is going on? Is my watch broken? Am I not doing what I'm supposed to be doing? And they passed me. Like, they're long
They're
gone.
flying. Wow.
And they have a huge group. And then eventually I caught up to them at like mile 10, and one of my other friends was pacing the 3-hour group, and they're like, yeah, the 3:05 group even passed us. And we're like, what the hell are you doing? And but for a while, like it just mentally messed with my head. Yeah. And I'm like,
Were you going faster than you should have then, or no?
I was going about, I think, a 6:25 pace at that point. So I was like, yeah, it's just a 3:05 is about like a 7:05, 7:10 pace. So I was like, what's going on?
So you're going. It's probably smart that you at least realized it and you stuck with your pace. You might have probably gotten a little faster than you should have, but it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Now, you've been something we talked about pre-show slightly, I think, in the beginning is you've been part of these communities. And did you start your own group? And how did that go? If not, I don't know.
The genesis of RTC.
Yeah.
So to me, all the big training groups are in Dallas, right?
Yeah,
You have
that's right.
DRC, you have White Rock Co-op, and you have all these groups out in Dallas. And then for us that live up north,
Didn't have anything.
Frisco, McKinney, Carrollton area, you had PRC, but there really wasn't a group that was training just for racing, right?
Yeah, not in
So
Frisco or McKinney or something like that back then.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, and it's too hard for me to go down to Dallas on a weekday and then have to come back up for work. It's just near impossible. So I was like, we need something up here, up north. And then, so with Melanie, we started training. We started going to track on Tuesday, and slowly we started growing. Like Alex Barrientos joined us, and then Maddie joined us. And then we had a solid training group up here that we started. And we would run Tuesdays track, Thursday tempos, and then our long runs. And usually our long runs, we would go down to the lake with White Rock. Yeah. And then we're doing a training session one day, and I was like, we need to come up with a club name. Like, we need to do something. Like, we've been running together for a year now. Like, we just meet up and everybody has a name. We don't have a team name. We need something. And so we're mulling things over. Maddie said, and what I heard was Race Track Club, and like RACE. That's what I understood. I was like, okay, Race Track Club, that works. And everybody's like, yeah, that works. And so later on, I was like, okay, in the chat, I was like, all right, so Race Track Club. And Maddie, no, you idiot, it's RAY. And I'm like, you want to call it Ray's Track Club? And they're like, yeah. I was like, at the time, I was like, I don't know.
It's not mine.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we all run together. Like, why use my name? And then Maddie was like, you come up with all the track workouts, you do all the routes and meetups and all that stuff. It should be Racetrack Club. And then that was the start of it.
Okay. I love it. That's awesome. You gotta felt somewhat honored that they would just want to call it by your name.
Yeah,
a lot of respect.
TC was born that day. On a
Do you
Tuesday
still have
morning.
Is it still around?
Yeah, we're still around. We still train. So there was a law that passed in Plano and Carrollton where all the tracks used to be open to the public, and now they put all the fences around. So we're homeless right now in regards to meeting up at the track. But yeah, but we still meet up. We still meet up for runs and long runs up here.
That's pretty awesome. They have, what is it? Like Highlands High School is right now still open.
Yeah.
It's a Richardson ISD, but all the Dallas ones, there's maybe one or two that are open, but they're starting to close a lot of those. Not open to the public. A public school.
Yeah.
Not open to the public. But anyways,
yeah,
it's a little frustrating.
But yeah, we're still looking for a track that we can call home. But RTC right now, do you know David Rucker? Or heard his
I don't.
name? He's the one that's running everything right now.
Okay.
He's running all the socials. He's running all the group runs. So
He
he's
gets paid pretty
essentially
well doing it.
yeah. So he's in charge of all the merch and things like that. So he's the CEO, CFO, and all that
Whatever else, social
stuff.
media expert.
So yeah, he'll come up to me and he'll be like, "Hey, can we do LGBTQ things or autism awareness?" I was like, "Hell yeah, let's go, let's do that."
Do it. That's pretty
So
cool. How many people do you guys have in your group?
I think about 60, and I think 12 consistently come up, and so people pop in and out.
Yeah, pretty awesome.
So we
I
try to
love that.
do events. Yeah, we try to do like a Christmas run, Thanksgiving run, things like that.
Yeah. I heard that some of the sloths branched off of your group into their own group because they
Hmm.
wanted to try to run like 230s and stuff,
Yeah,
or some of them, anyways.
it's impressive what they're doing.
Yeah.
Super impressive. Yeah. But
I
yeah,
think.
so yeah, we all started together. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is impressive. It's. I was going to say this earlier, and we just kept going on to something else. Under a 3 hour. Look, I think 310s, 315s, 320s. Those are all really good times for a marathon. Even maybe even higher. They're really good. What's impressive is how many people in DFW, women and men, that are hitting under 3 hours. And
incredible.
I've talked to so many of them, like I can't even talk to them all because there's so many, like literally under 3 hours. And then some are hitting under 250, right? Like Jill and some others. And
Jill has been putting a lot of work, winning Dallas and then just PRing like crazy.
yeah, I think she ran like a 252 or 3 or something in Boston. But her on, and her thing hasn't come out yet, but it was incredible. It's not just her. You've got the Mimi Smiths. You've got this woman named Rena. She just hit. She's in Dallas Fort Worth. A lot of people don't know her. She's not really on social, but she runs kind of with the sloth sometimes. And she hit like a 238 or 7 or something like
That's
that in Boston.
crazy.
And I'm like, geez. And then talking to Matt Campbell, he's trying to hit under 230. And some of the things that you said really continue to hit this thinking around community. Like the community is hitting these paces. Like you started running with some people you mentioned, some really fast people, Brent and some others, and you're trying to stay with them. That pushed you, right? Like their paces
Hmm.
started pushing, and then you hit some incredible times from that. And something that Matt said one time, because I probably quote this like every time I get on one of these, or at least, but he said, if I can hit under a 230, then the other sloths, other
Hmm.
members, they'll start hitting under 230s. And instead of a bunch of 230ers, you're going to have some 220ers. No, because Brent was always seen as the unicorn, or even Logan
Hmm.
Sherman. Logan Sherman really is the unicorn, hitting like 221 at his peak. But still, these are
Yeah.
DFW runners that nobody knows about that are hitting these Ts.
Yeah.
It's under 3 hours, men, women, whatever. And to me, it's all about the community. I think in general, I think that helps.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a lot of things.
Of
Community
course.
one, yeah, so you're gonna train with people, and those people are gonna push you, right? It's like you're gonna feed off of each other. Two is just the shoe technology. In the last 5 to 6 years, the
It's
shoe
a good point.
technology has just taken off. I feel like there's less injuries. Like for me, for example, I alternate shoes. Like I run in the Pegasus for my easy days, right? And then I'll do the speeds because they have the nylon plate. I like doing that for tempos. And then you got the speed, the pros, right? The Saucony pros, and then the alpha, the vaporflies and things like that. And I think, and if you looked back, like a lot of the professional marathoners were only running like one marathon a year. Now they're running multiple, 2 to 3 a year, and just still crushing it. And I think with that shoe technology, it's absorbing all that impact that we just do every single day, whether we're running 5 miles or 15 miles that day. Like the recovery is a whole lot quicker than it was before.
It's a good
Because I remember when I ran my first marathon, I was sore for a week. It was like 7 days. I was sort of like my feet were sore and everything like that. And that was before like the next percent came out, like the original next percent.
point.
And now I'll run a marathon and I'll be sore for half a day. And the next day I'm like
Good to
didn't you
go.
just run a marathon? I was like, yeah. I was like, just recovery, just in general, is so much better with those plated shoes. I feel like it's saving people's longevity career.
It's interesting that you say that because I think there's something to it, obviously. But I also think so. Talking to these people hitting these times, and you probably know better than everyone else too, or as much as everyone else is. These people are hitting long cycles of weekly runs, they're hitting 80, 90, 100 miles a week. And I'm like, but maybe that shoe technology really allows them to do that 2 a days. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
geez.
absolutely. And
Is
on
that
top
what
of
you were
that,
running back then? Or have you run 100 milers and things like that throughout the week?
the most I'll do is 90. That's my
Okay.
peak. Like I
Still.
won't go over 90. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I haven't reached 100 yet. Maybe this next training cycle I might do that, but I think the most I've ever peaked is like 90, 92.
So what's next for you?
I It's going to be a spring race. So I haven't ran a marathon
This spring? It's already over, or next year.
next year. So
Oh,
I'm thinking Mountains to Beach or Mesa in Phoenix. So I'm thinking
okay.
one of those two. It's just so hard with two. You have a teenager. I have two teenagers, and one's in band and track, and the other one's in color guard. So going from here to there. One weekend we're in Indy, the next weekend we're in Austin, next weekend we're in San Antonio, and it's just
Yeah.
I
It's
haven't
just
been
a
able
lot.
to get like a good solid training. So I think after November, because that's when marching season's over. Because Laura and I volunteer at the school. We're
Okay.
heavily in the high school community helping these kids, and it's just from July to November. It's just nonstop. It's every day. They go hard in the paint. The band won state this year.
Well,
Yeah, it was
so
incredible.
quickly, my son, he's 14. He'll be in ninth grade actually
Hmm.
next year, and he's going to join the marching band. So he was in eighth grade, all region. He was three out of like 100 and something
Wow.
kids, drums.
Percussion,
Well,
yeah.
percussion, yeah. Now he's going to be doing the big drums, I think, or I think he's going to try out for those. I don't know all the instruments, but he's in Roy City. I think they have a pretty good more band team or whatever. But so yeah, I looked at his summer. It's like starting in July, mid-July, for the next I don't know however long. He has like camp for at least a month.
Yeah.
Band camp every single day. Like,
And
dude,
then yeah,
I guess you
and
have to
then
learn it.
if the football team goes far in the playoffs or anything like that, like your marching season's not over.
Exactly.
I think Hebron was like 3 rounds away from making it to state, and we were surprised. We're like, wow, the season's not over yet.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's going to be a busy time
Yeah.
starting. It's actually starting. Like they're doing like these pre kind of trainings and things like that before they
Hmm.
actually get in there. And I think he has tryouts, which is, I told him, I said, look, it's just like anything else. You put your mind to it.
Yeah.
You surround yourself with some very similar kids that are doing similar things that you are. And as good as you are, you need to hang out with those good ones, those people that are really
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
That will make
exactly.
you even better.
If he already made region, yeah, he's gonna be a shoe in
Yeah,
for
I
when
think
we get to
so.
high
I
school.
mean, if he screws off and messes up
Yeah.
and doesn't practice, then maybe not a shoe in. So it's
Hmm.
just like running. Bring this
Yeah,
back to
exactly.
running.
You have to put the work in.
Just like anything, you got to put the
Yeah.
work in. So you have the marathon next spring, probably. What are you doing now? Are you still running quite a bit, or is it just sporadic, or
Yeah,
what?
I'm keeping a low base, and I say low base, but when I say it out loud, it's a wide range between 30 to 50 miles. Some days it just depends on what's going on that week, and I get more miles that week. But I'm staying. The wheelhouse is about 30 to 50, and I think once everything's done, like Laura and I sat down and we looked at our schedule, and I'm like, realistically, when can I get a training block? And it's going to be December of this year when I can start training. So it'll be a late March, early April race, maybe.
Do you have a specific goal in mind? I know people
Well,
don't like to say it, but
yeah,
you might as well.
43.
So you really want to go for it all.
Yeah, I
I
think
love it.
I feel at my age, I only have a few more years of like solid, competitive, really strong
I appreciate
running.
you saying that, Ray. I am 5 years older than you or so.
So I feel Father Time's catching up.
Yeah, it always does.
And it's so funny because I was talking to one of my friends and I was like, dude, like I could still run a 5 minute mile. I could run a marathon, no problem. But sitting down watching Netflix and I get off the couch to go get a snack and I pull something in my back and I'm like, make it make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
How do you get injured from watching Netflix? But
It's
I'm at that age.
funny because I can still run fast, but over the last 5 or 6 weeks, I've been running some 5Ks. Probably 4 weeks ago, I didn't pull anything in my back, but my back never hurts, ever. But it is killing me lately because I've run maybe too many 5Ks or something like that. And I'm like, or I'm just turned 50. So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. But I do think time is not on your side from PR standpoint. Like it's on none of our sides anymore.
Yeah.
Unless you're 30s or 20s or even 40s, eventually it just, you got to start thinking about winning your age group or something.
Yeah,
That's what I do
yeah,
now.
exactly. Yeah,
And even
so
then, I'm like,
eh,
dude, I could be in the top 10 in my age group at the age of 50 or sometimes 3 or 4, but I'm never that fast. I'm still not number one. These guys are fast. I'm not a
no,
Ray
and
Nichols.
man, I still get worried because like that Masters right now, you have to. Is Fawn's going to be in this race? Is
Yeah, it's
Javier going
Fonz.
to be in this race?
That's right.
Is Kieran going to be in this race? Is Brent going to be in this race? Because he just became Masters, and you're like, golly, it's just and the list goes on and like
They only get
like
faster.
who's gonna take it? And I always joke with Brent. I'm like, the only time I'll ever beat you is when Brent was like weightlifting and he gained like 30 pounds of muscle, and I went into like a solid 5K block. Like I was training for I call it my old man PR. I was going for an old man PR, and I just had a solid 5K training cycle, and Brent was like 190 pounds of solid muscle, and he entered a dash down, and I was like, this is like the only time I'll probably beat you like ever.
Did you beat
And
him?
then yeah, not by much. Like I think he still ran like a 16 or 17 something.
Jeez.
Yeah, so
What'd you run?
I think that day I ran like a 16:48.
So he just ran a 16:04 in Boston 5K. So he did the marathon, but then he also did the
Oh,
5K.
yeah, dude's unreal.
He was hoping to hit 15s, but it wasn't his day. And he got, I think, overall in Masters
Yeah.
or so in the 5K. And he still ran an amazing half marathon or
Oh,
marathon as well.
crazy.
I think it was
Crazy.
2:36 or 5 or something.
So
But
how
maybe
are you enjoying
I've never really enjoyed 5Ks that much. I like them because you can just get them done, but they're like a sprint. It feels hard. I feel like sometimes half marathons are a little bit more fun because you can get in a
easier, yeah.
groove and things like that. But it's been good. Like it's just a little different. I'm trying to just
You're
do
done quicker.
yeah, try to get quicker, and I haven't got quicker yet, but I'm trying. I need to train. I just go and run the 5Ks without. I'm running 30 or 40 miles a week, but I'm not training specifically for a 5K. So
Okay.
if I really want to do well in a 5K, I'm gonna have to like do lots of really hard track workouts and things like
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Like my thing behind the 5K is to get good at a 5K is you have to constantly run 5Ks
Yeah,
constantly.
that too.
Because you remember in high school, you were probably doing two races a week.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. I was
when
in cross
yeah,
country.
so think about that. Think about how much you raced, and some days were easier than others. So when I do my 5K block, and I always recommend runners like if I'm coaching someone, I always tell them like right when you come off a marathon block, go into a 5K block. And then I'll set them up with something where like you're doing a time trial at least once a week and entering a 5K once a week, and then leading up to your goal race.
I like that.
Yeah.
There's 5Ks everywhere.
Yeah.
They get kind of expensive now. They're like $50, depending on where you go. But
You can find a good one. I think my favorite race of the year is Ennis, the Polka Fest.
oh, really?
And I
Yeah.
think that's $30. That's like the one race I look forward to every year. And it's $30, and they feed you large amounts of food and give you large
I've heard
amounts of
about
beer
that
at
just
the end.
normally or recently.
Sign up. We'll run it together.
When is it?
It's Labor Day weekend. So next month. I think it's
I'll
a
sign
month
up.
from now.
Yeah, as long as I don't have something else, I'll sign up. Why not? Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
You're gonna stay with me? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Let's do
No,
it.
dude. You have to try to win it or whatever.
Oh.
No, I'll do it. Ray, this has been really great. It's really good to catch up. Good to hear kind of your story, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Now, before we go, did I miss anything that you wish you would have that I would have asked and that you want to talk about?
I think we covered all the major points.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that'll end it for the day. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another DFW Running Talk. I'm Chris Detzel. Don't forget to rate and review us and sign up to our Substack, dfwrunningtalk.substack.com. I'm Chris Detzel again. Ray, thanks so much for coming.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right.